And I am joined by Wandia Kimani. She is an environmental enthusiast, yeah? But she's also the project lead and department head of climate smart agriculture at Africa Youth Trust. Karibu sana to E Squared, and thank you for honoring our invite to be here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I mean, it's a Saturday. You would have been doing so many other things, so I feel it's important to mention.
It's
you
still
know?
early. It's still early. But thank you for having me.
All right, karibu sana. And yeah, we just want to kick off this conversation because what we've heard from these young guys in what they're doing with their garbage collection, they have mentioned severally that they feel like the government has left this responsibility upon them to clean the environment, to collect the garbage and the waste, and eventually take it to Dandora. What do you have to say first and foremost in terms of them feeling like the government has left this in their hands?
First of all, I'd like to say, waste management. First of all, is such a huge challenge and it's such a huge task. But secondly, this is a government mandate. So I'll talk about this deeper maybe as we go on. But you should not feel that the government has left this work to you. There's a lot that you can do as young people and as youth groups to be able to have a conversation with these government bodies and really hold them accountable to doing their job. Using a lobby and advocacy lens, you can be able to organize yourselves as youth groups and have a meeting. You can be able to get a meeting with NEMA. First of all, if you look at the legislation, it says this is a government mandate. So it is up to them to do their job. And you can hold them accountable. So as young people, we should stop feeling powerless and realize what rights and what powers we have as citizens of this country, but more so as young people. Yeah. There's so much room for us to grow and do something about this.
All right, I'm placing myself in their shoes. Yeah, they are organizations that have obviously been formed for this particular purpose, and probably they have had these meetings back and forth, but they're seeing nothing is happening. What should they do next, in their own capacity as the youth, in trying to handle this issue of solid waste management?
Off the top of my head, I would say organize yourselves in a very strategic and very organized way. Because one thing that fails us as youth is we don't organize ourselves in a strategic and unified and organized way. Mm-hmm. We need to organize ourselves, know exactly what we're going to ask for. You can use channels such as going to NGOs that work in this space. Yeah. You can use social media, digital platforms to be able to put your voice out there and speak on what exactly you need to get done. There's so many tools you can use. Press conferences. You can ask for meetings with other persons that can get you into the room with the decision makers. I leave it there. But look for me, and we can talk about this after this.
Okay. Yeah. If you're watching and
I'll leave my contact.
This is your field. Yeah, you can keep in touch with us guys and we'll link you up with Wendia. Yeah. But now bringing this conversation down to you and me. Waste disposal is something that relates to each and every Kenyan. Like right here in the office, we have a bin that is full of, taka. In our houses, our bins are full. But do we really understand our role in how slowly we are degrading our environment, and how do we take personal responsibility upon about this whole issue of solid waste management?
I would say this. It's very easy as a person to become so detached from understanding the life cycle of products that we're using.
Yeah.
And I'll use an example. If I have a plastic water bottle, I go to the supermarket, I buy a plastic water bottle. I'll purchase it, I consume it, and my thinking stops there. a lot of us don't think about what happens to that water bottle after we are done consuming the water.
That's true.
Yeah. So, but if we went into that supermarket with the thinking of, if I'm buying this water bottle, I'm buying it, I consume the water, and then after I consume this water, I'll throw the water bottle into the bin, and from the bin, it will be taken to Dandora, from where it will sit there for about 500 years. If it's not picked by waste pickers to be recycled, it's going to sit there for 500 years or thereabouts, or however many years it will take to decompose. And as it's doing so, it's leaching chemicals into the nearby water sources or whatever. And then the same communities are utilizing the same water for drinking, or it runs off down the stream and it's growing the food that we consume. So we need to think about the lifespan of the products that we are really purchasing. So if you thought about it that way, then you would go into the supermarket and purchase, you'd think twice about purchasing that plastic water bottle.
True.
And say, do I really need this water bottle now? Am I really that thirsty?
Can I wait till I get
Can
home?
I wait till I get home? Or is there another way I can get water? Or can I get an alternative and buy perhaps water in a glass bottle because I know I'm going to take it home and use it again?
Yeah. And quite recently, we have been using masks, and I'm sure you have seen people. You're done with your mask, and you just throw it away. And I am very certain, like in a year or two, we are going to be talking about suffocating marine life. And I think that is the kind of life cycle we are trying to get into the minds of Kenyans, you and me, that we need to figure out, where nikitupa hii itaenda kufanya nini to the environment around me. But do you think that we as Kenyans don't have that personal responsibility because we were not taught in school, or why do we fail so badly? Like, I think in my lifetime, I've had this topic discussed over and over and over again. Culture. Is it that it's because we weren't taught in school, or where are we going wrong?
I mean, there's many ways to look at it, but let me pose a situation or something here. I wouldn't say it's not that you weren't taught in school. First of all, why are we waiting to be taught everything in school? It's not the teachers' role to teach us life. Yeah, they can teach us to some extent, but life teaches us in different aspects of our engagement with our daily lives. Yeah. And I'll pose a question like this, or a statement like this: wewe ukiwa nyumbani kwa mamako, ukikula mkate umalize hiyo mkate, utaenda tu utupe hapo? Or will you just leave it on the counter?
No.
Your mother will give you a thorough beating,
The eyes enough will be enough to,
your mother will give you a thorough beating, because you know very well that you need to dispose of your waste properly. So already, and if you look at how our homes are really clean. We generally keep them clean. If you go to informal settlements, I've been to a couple. For example, I've worked a long time in Mathare. You go to Mathare, ukiangalia nyumba ya mtu ni safi sana. Kwanza ameka carpet, anaishi vizuri, baze hiyo nyumba ni safi. Na akitoka nje atafagia tu hapo nje ya mlango. But ukitoka hapo nje ya mlango, it's
a mess. It's a landfill.
It's a mess. Yeah. So we do know how to take care of our spaces, and we do know what it means to have a proper waste disposal. We just don't care, because we usually feel like when we walk out of our space, it is no longer our responsibility, and that's where the breakdown comes in. This whole country is our responsibility.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's true. That's very, very true.
Ukiishi hapa siku moja, kesho utaenda kuishi kule. Ukipata kule kuna uchafu, utablame nani?
You and me. It all boils down to personal responsibility. Let me play the devil's advocate here for a minute. I have decided to be responsible, take care of my environment, and even my neighbor. I'm telling them, you guys, you're not supposed to do this and that. We have taken our trash to the gate or wherever it's supposed to be. From there, as it goes to Dandora. In fact, why are we even talking about Dandora? Dandora is supposed to be a decommissioned landfill for starters because it's not being sorted, it's not being recycled, it's not being put to good use. So who is to blame in this situation?
I'd say, first of all, our systems are really broken when you look at solid waste management. And I'll give an example of say, let me give an example of Germany, because
Yeah.
I traveled there and that's where my passion started growing from.
Yeah.
I visited Germany for a student conference. And when I was there, I stayed with a friend of mine who was German. And when you look at the way they do their waste disposal, they have a bin for everything. And they have systems, for example, like if you go to the supermarket and you purchase a 2-liter water bottle or a soda bottle, plastic one, you take it home, you consume, and you take it back to the supermarket and you're given money back. And a lot of young people, they actually, university students, do that a lot because uni students drink and party a lot and they consume a lot of water. So you can make a good amount of money from these plastics. And even when you look at the way they recycle, they make it so much easier for companies that are in the recycling industry to do so, because the waste is not contaminated, it's sorted, it just makes the whole process easier.
Yeah.
And actually, in such countries, you can actually find a good amount of money for not sorting your waste in the right way.
Yeah.
And from there, you can see that it's disposed of in a systematic and proper way to some extent.
Yeah.
So when you look at our country, we just put everything together.
Yeah, that's true.
And when you look at the recycling industry here in Kenya, there's not so many people who are doing recycling. And even if it's being recycled, it's such an expensive venture to get into. That not so many people so many people shy away from getting into that space. So there's just so many things. There's so many things to think about.
From that experience in Germany, do you think that it's something that can be brought here? Is it something that you think can work, if can get implemented well when it's brought here, that idea?
It can be implemented well, but all sectors need to work together in harmony to have, let me say, a train system. So that if the private sector is in the recycling space, the government is in the waste collection space, and there's still private waste collectors, and there's the consumer. At least the consumer has confidence that if I sort my waste, it's going to be collected and it's going to be disposed of in the right way.
Right manner,
So we all have to work in harmony. There must be policies and legislation that is strictly implemented, because in Kenya we have so many policies, but we have legislation, but implementation is a challenge.
That's right.
So harmony, we need to be working in harmony. Policies have to be there. The waste management bill was just being made. When was it? 2019?
Yeah, 2019.
2019. After all those years, So and beyond that, like, we need to be able to hold decision makers accountable in our own way as citizens. I have a lady who works in Mathare. There's a certain dumping site that started growing outside of her home.
Yeah.
She called me, and I at the time I did not have contacts for NEMA.
Yeah.
And she kept hustling until she found someone who was able to come and collect that waste. And until today, that waste is no longer being dumped there.
Oh, wow.
Because she went out and had a conversation with every single person that lives around there about dumping that waste. But also, the person who's supposed to do their job should do their job. She
put them to task.
Yes.
Yeah, this is your job, your responsibility. Do something about it.
So holding them accountable is possible. We just need to be able to push through. Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about something very sensitive here. I'm sure in your line of work, you have had the stories about cartels and everything. How do we go about making sure that things are being implemented when there are so many roadblocks in the name of cartels in this country?
Yeah, that's a tough question.
From your experience?
Um, Sometimes it's also it's about knowing the noisemakers, for lack of a better word.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
in every parliament, there's the cartel people, there's those who are against it and
Yeah.
fully against it. So it's about approaching the right people. Yeah. So if you know that approaching this person A, B, C has not worked, then perhaps it's time to approach person D, E, F.
Yeah.
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 And have an authentic conversation about this because they know each other better. There are things that you may not know as an outsider.
Yeah.
But there are things that they may know as insiders, or there are other people outside of that can be able to influence some of the decisions or some of the things that are happening. So again, the thing with lobbying is you have to know who to approach, and you have to know how to approach them. And at the end of the day, the best way to get things moving in any business negotiation is if it's a win-win. Sit down, think about how you can design your solution in a win-win situation. If I come to you and I tell you, this is the way we've been doing things, granted, yes, I understand how things work.
Yeah.
But as young people, we feel like we need this in our lives. And by giving this to us as young people and not taking a bribe, but giving this to us as young people, you will benefit in this way. So if I come to you and I tell you, I would like to benefit and you're going to benefit, why would I not give you?
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So know who to approach, know how to approach, and have a solution that benefits everyone. A win-win solution is what you're trying to go for.
So just before we even continue with this discussion, probably someone is watching and we are going on about solid waste management, and they're like, those are big terms, my friends. What is that? Why are you talking about sini kutupatu takataka? In essence, what does it all entail? Is it just garbage disposal, or what does it all entail when you talk about solid waste management?
So there's something called circular economy. It's basically imagine a circle. So when you think about waste management, you should think about it in a circular form. The way most capitalistic nations or economies are built is the linear economy. So I take resources, I produce, people consume, it's thrown away. That's a linear economy. When you have a circular economy, it's you like everything goes in a circle. Yeah, you take resources, most probably renewable resources, and then you produce. You design first of all something that is going to be able to be utilized for many lifetimes, and that's why it's called a life cycle.
Yeah,
I mean a circle. So you produce, and the way you produce, it has to be sustainable as well. Then you look at how it's going to be consumed. As a consumer, that consumer should be able to utilize that product for many lifetimes. And if that consumer A doesn't want to continue using that product, consumer B can easily take up that product and use it, or change it into something else that can still be used for many lifetimes. Yeah. So the product stays in the circle in circle of use for years to come.
Yeah.
So when you think about solid waste management, it's basically the way it's done right now. It's just disposal, it's collection and disposal. That's it.
Yeah.
But there's so many aspects of even that's solid waste management, from collection, not even collection, from the consumer segregating and sorting that waste, to how it's collected, to how it's disposed of, to how it's recycled and upcycled, and all of those things repurposed and so forth and so forth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. When you were talking, I was just thinking about, you were talking about the cycle of one single-used item. And do you feel like then the responsibility lies with private corporations that are also producing these products? they're not giving us material that we can recycle and upcycle. It's when you try to reuse it, it's not really that good quality, you know. Then is it the responsibility of the private corporations that are letting us down as well?
You see, at the end of the day, yes, to some extent, responsibility falls on everyone. And I'll say this: governments have not put up laws, policies, or legislation that is very, very strict. And even if it's there, it's not being implemented. Because if the laws were there to guide production, like the way these plastic bags were, see, there were laws.
Yeah,
see, there were the non-woven, the ones that we are now using.
Yeah.
The government came up with strict laws on how they need to be made and how they should look like, right?
Yeah.
And that guides the producers of these bags, right?
True.
But also as a consumer, your responsibility is to tell these companies that you are trying to consume off of that, hey, so many number of us think that, actually not even think, we need this product to look this way.
Yeah. Public participation.
Mm-hmm. Or public influence.
Yeah.
We need this product to look this certain way.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't make this, then we're going to move to another producer who's going to make it the way we want it to be.
Do we have that power?
We do have that power. We just need to be mobilized and organized.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
There's many consumer associations. There's many consumer associations out there.
Yeah.
And the whole point of it is to organize and mobilize ourselves and have one unified voice. That one unified voice is finding a consumer association that will speak on behalf of us to these producers and governments and say exactly what we want. That's the whole point.
Yeah.
They can lobby on your behalf. So even for this youth garbage collectors and youth groups, just mobilize yourselves and find someone who will speak on your behalf.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's possible. It's doable, guys. Wow. Okay. And I was taking a quick look at your social media the other day. You were very active in participating in something that you were doing with some youth, Nairobi River. Was it a campaign they were running on the discouraging single-use plastic or dump around the Nairobi River? What was that all about?
So yes, we were trying to basically change young people's behaviors. Okay, first of all, there's several projects I've done all around Nairobi.
Yeah.
One of them was in Mathare, and I was working with communities there and teaching them how to sort their waste, and they were actually doing it, sorting their waste into organic waste, non-recyclable and recyclable waste. And the organic waste was being collected and processed by a company called Sanaji, which I used to work for.
Yeah.
And the recyclable used to be collected by youth groups, local youth groups, and used to be sold.
Yeah.
What was not recyclable was being disposed of by the youth groups in the right way.
Yeah.
So in that sense, by providing waste solutions to these communities, and they were avoiding dumping all the waste that they had in homes, hotels, and other businesses into the river.
Yeah.
That's in Mathare. So you're avoiding a lot of disposal of this waste into the river. We also tried to work on a certain project with youth from all over Kenya, from informal settlements, to be able to see how we can have a combined effort in terms of waste collection and waste prevention along Nairobi River. So even Mishuki Park, I remember we went and pitched this project to the county, Nairobi County, for them to be able to rehabilitate Mishuki Park. And a few years later, it was done, and now they have so many plans for it, because we feel like these are places that youth can utilize, and they should be in use, and they should be in a state that is usable.
That's right. Yeah. To be of use. I mean, they're such big spaces, so laying there doing nothing and just being used for actually, I used to see a lot of street families. They just used to live there. The environment was a very disgusting place, but it looks so beautiful right now. How does that make you feel though when seeing that you saw your plans on paper and now there you are?
Yeah. Like it's also a combined effort, but it's very nice because I was inspired when I went there and I saw these street boys.
Yeah.
And they were making lunch from I think it was a paint tin. It was a tin. Could have been for paint or something else. But they were making lunch from pumpkin leaves that they had collected somewhere in the along the river in the park, and there were wild mushrooms that they were cooking and cutting up as well.
Aren't those the dangerous type?
See, they're not all dangerous.
Yeah.
But you have to know what's dangerous and what's not. So I remember asking them, like, how do you know what's dangerous and what's not?
Mm-hmm.
And they're like,
the streets teach them.
We'll know. We'll know. If one of us, if we don't make it, we'll know, you know?
Yeah.
So I was really inspired because there's so many ways that we can utilize these parks for such people.
Mm-hmm.
They were even planning to start fishing in the river there,
at
Mishuki Park. So there's so many ways to utilize such spaces and even use some of the waste to build vertical, gardens.
Yeah.
If you go online and just Google vertical gardens from, plastic bottles, you'll see so many pictures and so many solutions to how to use your waste to actually grow food and do so many other things.
So it's something that you can do at home. Okay, we are talking about personal responsibility. So she's giving us some solutions that we can actually do in our own spaces. What got you in this field of environment? You're so passionate about this.
Like I said, I think for me, I've always kind of cared about the environment. I just like being in nature, or just I like greenery. But I think what changed for me was when I went on that trip to Germany, and just looking at waste management from a business side made me question, Allah, why are things not running like this in Kenya? So I came back home and I started doing research, and I was blown away by what's lacking, the gaps that are there, the opportunities that are there, and meeting people in the industry and the space. And it just really inspired me. So and everything is really tied together, because one thing I will tell people is everyone must care for the environment, because the ground we are on right now, building tuko, see, this is environment.
That's true.
So if you're caring for your house, you're caring for your business premises, why are you not caring for the grass and the trees
right outside your house?
Outside.
Yeah. So what are you doing about it now, since your trip to Germany? What have you come with? What did you come home with?
So I remember when I came home, I immediately started this group of people, a community. I started this movement or community.
Yeah.
I call it Tuko Green movement. Just Tuko Green. Basically, it's a community of enthusiasts, experts, people who are passionate about the environment, people who want to learn about the environment. It's just a WhatsApp group that I started to just bring all these people together and have conversations and dialogues and connections, all of that. If someone wants something, then get in the group, ask. Then I also started my own garden in my balcony from plastic bottles, Coca-Cola 2-liter bottles. I cut them up. I started growing food from food waste.
Okay. Like the cut up tomatoes and whatever that we use in the house, or what kind of
waste? That's waste. That's compostable. So I compost as well. So I just put it on the balcony, and I also separate my waste. Even if I know it's not going to be disposed of properly, I just have that habit of sorting my waste at home into organics and the other stuff. So, for example, you can grow carrots from, you see the top part of a carrot, when you cut a carrot, you part ya juu, you are green.
The one with
the green top.
Okay.
If you cut that part up and put it in water, it starts growing leaves. Once it starts growing leaves, you put it in soil. That's a carrot. If you have the spring onions, you only eat the top part, right?
Yeah.
You don't eat the roots.
Yeah.
The part with the root. You cut it, you put it in water, it grows roots, transplant, it's a new spring onion. You can do the same with onions, you can do the same with garlic, and so many other things. Cabbage, lettuce, you can grow them like that. So imagine you're growing food from waste.
Now imagine right from your house.
Yes, right from your house. So if you don't have money, each time you're COVID, imagine you can get food.
Your own vegetables.
Your own vegetables, yes.
So how did you do the 2-liter Coke into a...
So there are different ways of doing it. You can just Google YouTube how to cut them up. There's different ways of doing it. But for me, I just cut them in half. The part with the lid, I invert into the bottom so that it's kind of like a self-watering system.
Like a funnel?
Yeah, like a funnel. So it looks like a funnel inside the base.
Yeah.
So then you can put rope before you put the soil. So then it becomes a self-watering system.
Okay.
So you put water in the base, you put a rope,
Mm-hmm.
then you have the funnel. You can put the lid. You make holes in the lid so that the water can be able to drain.
Mm-hmm.
And then you add the soil. You add some rocks at the bottom so that it's drainable.
Okay.
Then you add the soil. Then you just plant.
Hey, when you tulisoma capillarity, that was, am I right? It was something to do with that, yeah?
Osmosis.
Science and, yes, osmosis. There was also something to do with capillarity, the way this water is passing through the soil or something like that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic. Very practical solutions to how to use your waste right at home. Right at home.
Yeah.
I don't know, my producer, whether we have any questions on social media, on our YouTube channel, as they are giving us that. So how, from what you have been doing on the ground, do you feel that we are on the right path, or there's still so much to be done in terms of changing our culture, changing our perceptions, and government goodwill?
I mean, yeah, there's still so much to be done, but I'd say we're getting somewhere. I'd say a lot of people in Kenya are becoming more environmentally conscious. They're becoming aware of what's going on. Especially with the plastic bag ban, I think that sort of opened up the conversation and dialogues on environmental conservation. So we're getting there slowly. There's businesses that are starting to sell a lot of green products. So. It's a good thing.
Baby steps.
Yeah, baby steps.
Baby steps.
Baby steps.
Okay. So thank you so much for joining us for this conversation. I hope that wherever you guys were watching us from, you have picked something and ran away with it. This is something that it's our own personal responsibility. We take personal responsibility for how we are disposing of our waste. Not every time saying Gava inatulet down, Gava blah blah blah. So and if you're an organization, a youth organization that you're participating in garbage collection, garbage disposal, she has told us you can lobby. You can lobby and you can put government to task. The responsible bodies, you can put them to task. Just talk to the right people and know how to talk. Yeah.
Know who to talk to, how to talk, and have a good solution.
Have a good solution. But thank you so much, Wandia Kimani.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you for even educating us on how we can do so much by ourselves, and all that you're doing, Uko, on the ground. You're doing an amazing job. Amazing
Thank
job.
You. And let's plant trees, guys. Tupande miti.
But we also, you say that we can reach you. So please share social media, your contacts. How do we reach you?
You can reach me via email on wkimani17@gmail, or my work email at wandia@africayouthtrust.org. Yeah. My Twitter is Wandia Kimani, Wandia_Kimani. Yes.
Twitter, email, that's it, yeah?
Yes.
You're not on Instagram?
The rest are personal.
Those are personal. Okay, so you guys have heard from her all those contacts that she has given out. Please reach out to her. And yeah, I'm sure she's going to give you a helping hand where you're stuck.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming. And I hope you're going to have this conversation soon.
Yes.
Maybe when your technical expertise, you were, before we started this, you were telling me you're in school studying,
Yes,
so that you
yes.
gain the technical know-how.
Yeah.
Okay, all the best.
Thank you. Thank you.